He all came onto our radar, Ed, when he won at Newcastle. He looked typical him, lethargic, and then when he picked up, he won really well.
I think what'll make this horse a real good horse is the fact that he's got such a great demeanour in his races. He relaxes so well. So many horses don't achieve their full potential because they don't settle, they boil over in prelims, whatever. This horse has got a great mind, and he really relaxes in his races and just saves all that energy for the finish. And you saw that at Lingfield, and you saw how well he finished at Lingfield. And you saw this morning, you know, he's super laid back in his work. And I think that's what will stand him in really good stead.
It's very, very hard to get a horse to go to the Derby, to buy a horse, to breed a horse. To get him to the race is you know, a difficult thing to do. And then I've been trying to do it, and I buy that kind of horse, and I've been doing it for 30 years, and I think with luck this is going to be my fourth runner. You know, so it's not easy to get there, let alone win.
Tell us the story about this horse, how you came, because normally you breed your horses.
Most of the time I do, you know, now. You know, the guy who looks at horses for me, Jeremy Brummett, was over in Deauville 2 years ago, October. And he called me up and he said, this is the nicest horse in the sale, you've got to buy this horse, which is, he's said before about other horses, to be fair, but and they haven't turned out any good. But he bought Masked Marvel for me, and he said, you've got to have this horse. And I looked at the pedigree, and it fit in my kind of regime of things, you know. You know, he wasn't incredibly expensive, and you know, that's really the story. But it's 100% down to Jeremy that this horse is here.
And was he bought as a Derby horse? Is that always the plan?
Pretty much, you know, even Stradivarius and other horses I've had, Masked Marvel, Assessor, all those horses, they've all turned out to be stayers. You know, at the end of the day, they weren't bought to be Gold Cup horses. They were all bought with or bred with the Derby in mind. You know, they had enough stamina, they had enough speed, they were the right kind of build in my mind, or in Jeremy's mind, and this horse would have been exactly the same, you know.
He's an old-fashioned thoroughbred, is how I describe him to people. You know, he looks more like some of the old-fashioned Stubbs paintings you see in the Jockey Club rooms than a modern, big, powerful, you know, thoroughbred. I think he's an exceptionally good-looking horse, and he's very, very athletic. He's not the biggest, but he's not small, and again, you know, I think that athleticism that's what we're trying to do. Really, we're trying to produce athletes.
And what's he like to train?
Great. I mean, Matty Hicks, who rides him every day, does a great job with him. He's a typical kind of Manger Camelot. You know, that line of exuberance and playfulness. You know, he can be quite, in the winter there were a few nervous moments, you know, for Matty trying to cling on when he was fresh and well in himself. To train in terms of his work and everything, super straightforward, very, like I say, very clean-winded, doesn't need a huge amount of work. Just a playful horse, you know, and you know, he likes to show his well-being.
English King now with just a length and a half to find, and maybe going better. They race down towards the final furlong. English King looms on the outside. English King takes the lead. Berkshire Rocco in second. The rest just simply don't count today. English King has quickened away. How impressive. English King.
Now, you were mentioning about Lingfield. It was a fascinating race because you could almost see this horse learning with every sort of furlong. He was, oh, this is what you want me to do, or this is how I handle the hill.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tom gave him, a brilliant ride and taught him plenty. You could see Tom trying to switch him onto his left lead coming down the hill into the bend. And yeah, he was still very babyish, but he definitely would have learned a lot at Lingfield. And again, thanks to Tom. And I think, you know, he's come on for that experience, and surely will hopefully be better equipped to go around Epsom, having been to Lingfield.
How difficult was it to take Tom off and put Frankie on?
You know, very difficult really, because Tom's done nothing wrong. He's a great young jockey. He's going to go a long way, but he'd never ridden in a Derby before. He hadn't ridden in an Oaks before. The Derby is like no other race really. You need a lot of experience to go around Epsom in that kind of race. It's a lot of pressure, and you know, Frankie's done it many times, and that really was the difference.
Was it your decision or was it Ed?
Well,
or...
Ed and I, talked about it a lot. It was hard to take Tom off because, Tom's has a lot of confidence in the horse. But, the Derbies, there's a bit of rough and tumble in the race. And, Frankie is going to be able to handle that on a big occasion. And I'm sure Tom will too in a couple of years' time. But I think, we had to do what we did.
I've only gone what I've seen. I thought it was very impressive at Newcastle last year, and it was very impressive at Lingfield. Interesting. I mean, the plus side, he went around Lingfield like it was a flat track, so you would think that Epsom be quite similar, that he would handle the downhill, and that's a big tick in the box, really. Like Anthony Van Dyke did last year at Annapurna. There's some experience, some similarities, and at the moment he ticks every box. He's won over the distance. He's handled Lingfield. He's won his trial, and what we've seen so far, there is, obviously you got to respect the Guineas winner, but he's got another 4 furlongs to go. So. Yeah, I'm very pleased with my mount.
And for Ed Walker, the trainer, to have a horse like this it's a bit special, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's what we do it for. The Derby is I would it's probably no secret just looking at my results that, I would prefer to train probably a horse that stays than a horse that doesn't. And, having worked for Luca and Roger Charlton, and, they are Derby winning trainers and specialise in those kind of horses, mile plus horses, and those classic horses are what really gets me going, and it's great. We had an experience with Stormy Antarctic which didn't end so well. He won the Craven and was disappointing in the Guineas, but has been a superstar and a flag bearer for years. And now we've got this guy, and also for Bjorn, who's my landlord and become a real good friend and an owner. To have his whole setup is about winning the Derby. So. It's very, very exciting for all of us.
The Derby picture itself,
Yep.
You look at all the trials, he's the real attractive one.
He's done it. Obviously, this year we didn't have the luxury of having the Dante at York. That usually is the best trial. But, the classic form is always the one you got to take notice. And Kamiko, the Guineas winner, he hit the line strong. He's the one that he brings class to the party, and he's the one that I fear probably the most.
How do you see the race itself panning out? Because you've got the master tactician with Frankie on board, but how do you see it panning out? Or what would be ideal for you and English King?
What would be ideal? Ideal would be he comes there like El Gran Senor, but finishes it off. That would be ideal.
And for you as an owner breeder, what's it like to have a runner like this in the biggest race in the world?
Well, I didn't breed him,
No.
but look, this is the most important race in the history of the turf. Really, it's been run for 240 years approximately. A lot of the greatest stallions that come out of this race, it's kind of shaped the breed, really. The whole pattern race system is built around the Derby, so to me it's historically the most important race in the world.